So basically, I look over things and political movements, at least the more recent ones during my time, and find that it doesn't seem to matter what comes about. There's always a suggestion that it's created by something that somehow illegitimizes what's happening. We saw it with Occupy. Of course, it was suggested that Soros was behind that. We look at the ones that were at the head of that founded it, and they definitely had ties to either Soros or his front groups, not to mention being self-proclaimed communists or socialists. And we seem similar with like Tea Party and suggested that, all that was created by the Koch brothers. I mean, there was a documentary on that called, AstroTurf, I believe it was, because of their involvement in that. And then, we had Anonymous, and that was supposedly CIA. Most recent, we have Q. And once again, it suggested that, that's government ops or psyops. And this is a pattern that I'm seeing throughout my life. People end up getting involved with things. Things start to happen. They start bringing things to the forefront that need to be considered, dealt with, maybe society needs to look at, and then all of a sudden, because of one bit or one supposed involvement or infiltration, all of a sudden, we're supposed to just forget about it. This presents a problem. It's the realization that this is going to always happen. I mean, for so many that seemingly know that, media is about full of crap most of the time. There's political bias, left leaning, right leaning. Different times, police getting involved and blowing things up from within. These are things that are always going to happen. So the question becomes, what do? We just don't bother? When you're trying to bring about change because there are societal issues that need to be addressed, or hidden things that people need to learn about or they need to dig into, there's always inherently going to be some form of danger involved. Whether that's potential character assassination, whether that is, you know, doing things that wind up getting you in trouble legally. These are always going to be part and parcel of trying to change things, especially when things are wrong. I would suggest that it doesn't matter what's going on or where it started. There's a certain point where enough people involved can change and navigate something into genuine change if they choose to ignore the danger and they are in it for the right reasons. Another one that we saw too, the Malheur situation where the boy was killed. They tried to suggest that was things that it wasn't either. It always happens. You have to remember, the ones that hold political power and basically benefit from the status quo, they are always going to do what they need to do in any means and any method in order to either A, get ahead of things to control it, or B, infiltrate it in order to blow it apart from within. And it seems to me that human nature and losing focus pretty much allows that to happen. Where's your resolve? our forefathers, which many today, from the left-leaning, liberal, educated, highly misled youth running headlong into socialism, they feed into their emotions and their anger, and things become violent. Most Americans are opposed to such things. This is a reason why most people involved in any form of protest or attempts to redress their own government try to stay with and maintain peaceful methods. Right now, we have a queue. And I would suggest, whether you believe it or not, whether you support it or not, if you have any inkling or any clue what's really going on and why things are the way they are today, I would suggest, instead of tearing Q apart, you encourage it, for the simple fact that one of the big things it is teaching people is to question, to dig for answers, to look into things, look at connections between the players involved. Okay? That is pushing the concept and idea of an informed public like our forefathers intended. Now, going back to that, a lot of those liberal lefts of today would sooner shred that Constitution. They would suggest that the forefathers are anything other than what they were. And I would remind you, if you know nothing about the communist goals for America as part of congressional record, you really need to look into them. And if you doubt the congressional record bit, read The Naked Communist. They're in there. The left, socialists, have captured the education process. This is one of the communist goals. It's there. There are 42 of them. And because of the way teachers today, rather than teach curriculums, teach ideologies, and through such kind of manipulate kids or the ignorant older adults in secondary education, they throw a lot of ideals around. It doesn't matter what starts things. If enough honorable, truthful people get behind it, it doesn't matter what created it. There's always going to be danger, especially if you're going against the status quo. Some form of danger. Of course, that danger is exponential depending on your number of followers, the ones that listen to what you say. They're constantly trying to filter information in such a way that the status quo is kept alive, so that it's not questioned, so that people largely continue to not even realize that there's things they should question. Things to keep in mind. This is bringing out the key stuff right now, is teaching people how to research. So if nothing else, at the very least, we're looking at the potential of a better informed public. to anyone that actually follows it and tries to dig in. Our big hurdle right now is the algorithms that filter search results, or Facebook that censors opposing view. If we're ever going to truly take this country back, and we're ever truly going to return the power to the people like our forefathers envisioned and intended, our constitutional republic, not a democracy, there's a difference. Just one example of how schools and the education process has lied. We have to stop living in fear. We have to find common ground. And any moron that pushes violence in any form, shouting people down so that they cannot share their view. You know, just because you listen to something doesn't mean you have to believe it. But at least have the respect to let people have their voice. The only thing you're doing by trying to shout people down is showing us how stupid you are, how fearful you are, because you can't even allow their voice to be heard. And it does nothing but creates hatred. Determined people with something to say, no matter how loud you shout, they're going to find a means to be heard. They're not going to stop. And you, as a shouter, can't be everywhere that they are, unless you're going to stalk them. And then I would hope they have the brains to have your ass put in jail for being a stalker because you were a moron. This is not adult behavior. This isn't about, or it shouldn't be about left versus right. Unfortunately, at this point in time, it is, simply because you look at the actions of the left and what they're willing to stoop to. Yeah, them in power, how safe you think anybody not holding their views is going to be. And this is, again, where you on the left are idiots. You're not going to intimidate us, but we are going to laugh at you. You want to be violent, you want to be uncivil, some of them are going to stomp your ass because you're being a bully. And we all know there's only one way to stop a bully. You make them stop. So continue to be stupid about things, left and liberals and Democrats. The majority of the population is not going to support being uncivil, nor are they going to support the violence. And just because you guys are young, you're not a majority. Not by any means, shape, or form. And if you're not careful, a lot of you are going to get hurt. You're going to run into the wrong people that ain't so tolerant. And you're going to get just what you've accused the other side of, intolerance. And if you push too far, again, they're probably going to defend themselves. And if they have to stomp your ass to defend themselves, they're going to do it. And what is funny as hell to me is the ones on the left, the liberals and most of the Democrats, you are picking on gun owners. that if you take things too far, they will defend their lives. So go ahead, be stupid. Continue to make people fear for their lives because you're unhinged. And I will be one of the ones, and when this comes, with the way that media will try to spin it, to remind people we were civil up until a point. We were tolerant up to a point. I am not going to hold it against any American and what they end up feeling they have to do in order to defend themselves because they feel threatened. I'm just not. And you know what? Most other Americans with a brain aren't either. So all this stupid shit that you are allowing yourselves to be manipulated into, it's all going to backfire. It's already starting. If you don't know about Q, look into it. Look into the whole crumb concept and the way that some of the places that follow it dig into things. The research that they do when things are pointed out. Learn how to research. Learn how to recognize when one of your sources has obvious political agenda because it constantly leans to the left or the right. I've said it before in videos I've done. Truth in the matters is never at the extremes. It's usually found somewhere in the middle, just like compromise. To everybody that's not a Democrat, not left, not liberal, be careful. Be watchful. Try not to retaliate. But by all means, if your life is in jeopardy, defend yourselves. Just don't use undue force. Remember, when the attacking stops, any force beyond that is undue force. Don't get even. Don't be vengeful. All it's going to do is gaslight the whole thing. Do what you need to do until the attack stops. Notify authorities. And maybe if authorities do their jobs with this stuff, the left and the liberals that think that there are no consequences for their actions because they want to do stupid things, will finally get the idea there are. Anyways. If you're going to change things, there's always a danger. You have to decide how much change is needed, how important it is, and what you are willing to give. Right now, we seem to have a real chance to get some wrongs righted. What a lot of us have known about media and the crap that they pull, the issues with the Fed, Reserve, it's starting to come out. It's the opportunity that it may be changed. And look at all the human trafficking stuff that's going on to stop that. And for those of you that realize what human trafficking leads to, the pedophilia, the sex slaves, and how that's used, you should realize Well, it's a big thing to be being done right now. And the ones that benefit from it being taken care of. You know, we have a situation where America actually seems to be being put first right now as well. It's a lot of things you may not know about because the idiot box doesn't tell you. But these are just some things right now that are very important. And we actually have an administration right now that's dealing with them or that's making them more well known. And as long as that continues to be the case, I'll support it. Anyways, just some stuff for you guys to think about.